Hey there, race fans. Welcome back to another episode of the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Blaise Bollman, coming to you from the lovely TwinSpires offices here in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm joined by our esteemed analyst, Darin Zoccali, out there in Long Island, and of course, James Scully in the beautiful setting of the Bristnet Library in Lexington, Kentucky. We are here today to share our best bets, our morning line favorites to fade for the weekend, and anything else worth noting and horses to watch. Before we kick off, Darin, how about you get us going with what we got going for this big day, big weekend with PA Derby coming up on Saturday, and what promos our players should look out for at twinspires.com.
Sure, yeah. The last 5 races at Parx Racing on Saturday has got that big filly 5, and they have a mandatory payout on that sequence. So in addition to that, we're going to add $2,500 on top of it with a hit it and split it. So this way you have extra jackpot to share in if you're able to take down a big chunk of that pool. So be sure to go to the offers page, sign in. You hit that pick 5. Not only do you get the force out on the sequence, but you also get the $2,500 hit it and split it on top of it. The Churchill Downs money back continues to roll along. That takes place each and every day of the meet. And we have a leaderboard at Los Alamitos, as that is now the centerpiece of Southern California racing right now. $3,000 each day for that leaderboard contest. So be sure to head on over and opt into those great thoroughbred promotions. And have to give the harness racing fans a shout out too, Blaise. We are chock full of harness racing promos. There's too many for me to even name them all, but just go to the offers page and opt in. I promise you, if you like harness racing, you're going to find no shortage of opportunities this weekend at TwinSpires.
Right on. Thanks, Darin. And yeah, there is a slew of harness promos because here at TwinSpires, we love harness racing and our harness players. All right, let's get this show on the road with our best bets. Out of seniority, I'm going to go to the elder statesman, Mr. James Scully, out there in Lexington. And again, that beautiful backdrop, that is the Bristnet Library. Take it away, James, with your best bet.
All right, thank you, Blaise. I'm going to go, got Downs After Dark on Saturday night at Churchill Downs. Got some good fields all evening. And race number 6 is a turf allowance, mile and 16 turf allowance. My best bet is going to come in that race. It's number 8, War Campaign. He's 6-1 on the morning line. This is a 4-year-old colt by declaration of war, obviously bred for the turf on the top side. And he just tried the turf, 4-year-old colt, first time last race for Phil Sims. And I thought he really ran a good 5th at Ellis Park that day. That was the Kentucky Turf Cup preview stakes at Ellis Park. It was a 1.25-mile race. War Campaign made a nice move on the far turn, challenge for the lead and upper stretch, and wound up getting beat about a couple lengths in a tight 5-horse finish. The winner, the horse that won that race, Me and Mr. C, was coming off a stakes win in Indiana. Horseshoe Indianapolis was in good form. The runner-up, Celis, is a 1.25-mile specialist. He ran this race to be second. The 4th place finisher, Get Smoking, came back and won the Kentucky Turf Cup by open lengths, and the horse that Gets Smoking barely edged in 4th, who finished 5th, was War Campaign. That was I think it's a sneaky 5th place effort on paper. That was a real strong field that day. I think the cutback to a 1.16 and the drop to a conditioned allowance will favor War Campaign. I look for him to advance upon that first effort and really run a big race the second time on the turf Saturday night at Churchill Downs, DZ.
Yeah, well, either great minds think alike or misery loves company, because I was actually looking to the same horse as a possible best bet, and I was looking at that race as a possible fade as well, with the 2 chalks in there with a cellist and a credit. So best of luck to James, because I'll certainly have some of my wagering dollars there as well. I went for my best bet to the feature track of the day in the Cotillion Stakes, grade 1, $1 million for the 3-year-old fillies. The first of what I think is a few morning lines that puzzle me, and we'll say that, I guess, the nice way. I like a cult here. This is a filly that ran in the Acorn Stakes behind Pretty Mischievous, who's one of the division leaders, who came out of that race to win the test stakes. Acorn, 3rd beaten 4 lengths that day after stumbling badly at the start. Then went to the Monmouth Oaks from there and just blew the doors off that field, including a next out winner in Foggy Night. I think that and Foggy Night would come out of that race to win the prep for this to Catherine Sophia last time out, and will face that rival once again. I think the favorites in here, Pretty Mischievous, is a little bit dubious. I don't know what to make of Hoosier Philly off the last race in the Charlestown Oaks. I don't think we're getting 6-1. In fact, in the words of my dad, the late great Santos Zoccali, if this horse goes off 6-1, I'm going to stand on my head and spit jelly beans. I do think a Cult has a major shot in here. 7-2, I think, is fair value, James and Blaise, and she's going to be one of my stronger opinions of the day.
I like where you're going with that, Darin.
No, go ahead, Blaise.
James.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I agree. I think she's got a big shot for sure. The thing about both the Colt and Randomized, I don't think either one of them were at their best back in June when they were faced in the Acorn Stakes against Pretty Mischievous. But they both have certainly come on big time since then. Randomized comes off that big win in Alabama. A Colt, I thought she couldn't have been any sharper winning that Monmouth Oaks last time. So she has a big shot, in my opinion, and I think that's a good best bet, Darin.
Hope so, because a lot of my bankroll there will be depending on it. We'll see.
Well, you'll take 3-1, or you said 7-2, Darin?
7-2 is good value. 3-1 is probably fair value.
Copy that. All right. So I'm going to also put my attention towards the big day out there in Philadelphia at Parx. We got a 14-day race card for Pennsylvania Derby Day. My best bet on Saturday is going to come in the Grade 2 Gallon Bob Stakes. This is a 6-furlong sprint for 3-year-olds running for a $400,000 purse. I like the number 7 horse, the Golden Sense Gelding, Sir Lancelot, for trainer Michael Sidham and Hall of Fame jockey Johnny Velasquez. I feel confident that Sir Lancelot's post position is decent in this field of 10. I look for him to go straight forward with Johnny V, set the pace. And looking at this field, I don't see a lot of early pace. I do give a little credit to the quote-unquote morning line favorite Rivet. But again, there's, I don't think, much on the front end with Rivet and Tyler Gaffleone, but with Mike Stidham looking at the last out race at Colonial Downs for Sir Lancelot, I feel Mike had this race planned and had him pointed towards. He was unchallenged at the race at Colonial. It was a $100,000 handicap, I believe. Went 5.5 on the grass. Michael Sidham's turf percentage, he's hitting at 23%, 19% in sprints. So he's a lightly raced foe compared to some of these others that show up in this group. But, as long as he can get away from the gate well, I'm a little wary of that. But I do like the price, the morning line again. We're looking at 6-1, I believe. Sorry if I'm forgetting that. But if he gets away from the gate well, does not get brushed or interfered with along that backstretch coming towards the final turn, this is really going to be his race. And his race, I mean, I do give Damon's Mount a little credit with Michelle Lovell's training style. I think that race at Charlestown, that bull ring hopefully took not too much out of Damon's Mound, but again, in Johnny V, I trust. So that's going to be my best bet of the day in the Gallant Bob Stakes.
Yeah, he's
all
the
right.
speed
We'll
of
move
the
on.
speed. He's the speed of the speed, Blaise. And one thing I will say, though, it's going to be like, what kind of price will you be willing to take? Because he's never been lower than 5-1 in any of the starts. I think Damon's Mount's your favorite. He's your second choice. I could be wrong about that, but it'll be interesting to see how the betting goes.
Yeah, and I'm on par with Darin. I'll take maybe 3-1 the lowest. If I'm getting 5-2, I'm gonna have to text Darin and say, can you give me a money back promo here at the last second? But I don't know if I'll get that again. These morning lines, we're trying to be as correct as we can. They're a little odd, a little fishy, but again, we'll see how the public money pours in. And again, this is Saturday at Parx. You're gonna have all that attention from the normal Parx players Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll see what money comes in on a Saturday. But for us true DGens, we'll be watching Parx for sure and watch that tote board. All right, we'll move on to our fades. Let's get into our morning line favorites we are going to bet against and try to find some value on that tote board. Darin, I'll kick it off to you first.
Yeah, Churchill has a great card that day. They got a series of stakes races, including an overnight stake called the Seneca Overnight. I'm against Taxed in this race, guys. I just don't think the race shape is going to set up well for her. There's a limited amount of speed, which she's looking to be the lone speed against this group. Taxed is cutting back in distance to 1 1/16. I thought if she was really going to take a step forward, I thought coming out of the Black Eyed Susans, her next couple of starts, we needed to see further progress because that's the best race she's ever run in her life. And I think she's regressed since then. Now, I understand she ran into an absolute buzzsaw last time out in the Alabama, but she shouldn't have lost the race that she lost in the Indiana Oaks. And I just question these 3-year-old fillies that have been beating each other and going back and forth all season leading into midsummer. I really question how good they are. And the proof of that or evidence of that being Randomized, who showed up as the new kid on the block and blew the doors off the field in the Alabama. While I don't necessarily think there's a Randomized in this field, I'm taking that same approach. You got some horses that are new on the scene, some horses that are lightly raced coming off of big efforts. And I think you have some better opportunities at better prices than settling on Taxed, who's been one of those 3-year-old fillies who's been around knocking heads. And I just don't think that group has been particularly strong. I think the pace scenario is up against her. She's got a rail draw as well. And she's losing Rafael Bejarano for the first time in the last 5 starts also. So at a short price, I'm against Taxed in race 9 at Churchill.
Yeah, I think that's a fair call. The one thing I thought you totally hit it on the nail. Looked like on the Black Eyed Susan, she was just like her form was going to keep going up and keep progressing. I did not like her Indiana Oaks effort. I thought that she didn't show the turn of foot off the far turn I was looking for. And then that was just a complete dud. And, they had her, I believe, 8-1 on the morning line or something in that Alabama. And people were predicting she'd get bet down. And sure enough, she's 4-1 that day. She's going to be lower than 5-2 in here and has to work out a trip from the rail, like you said. So that one is definitely a vulnerable favorite in my eyes, potentially Taxed. As far as my favorite that I'm against, I'm going to go right to the Grade 1 Cotillion at Parx. I'm going to mention the Pretty Mischievous. And, the thing with Pretty Mischievous is that this is a filly that is coming off 3 consecutive Grade 1 wins. In the Kentucky Oaks, she won by a neck over Gambling Girl. In the Acorn, she won by a head over Darth Vader. And then in the Test Stakes, when that Maple Leaf Mel tragically broke down, she edged out clearly unhinged by a head or a neck. And in all 3 of those races, Grade 1 races, she failed to earn a triple-digit Brisnet speed rating, and that is a concern for mine at the Grade 1 level. She's coming off 3 performances where she's barely won. The races have come back slow for that level in a sense, and to me, Brendan Walsh has been talking about this being her last race, and it's been a long season, but since June 21st through September 21st, she's run 1 time. I mean, she ran all her races early in the year. She's has 1 start in the last 3 months, and I'm going to look for her more next year. I think she's potentially tailing off in this final start, because one thing's for certain, she's either going to have to run faster or she's going to be vulnerable. I'm going to play against the first angle at short odds and make Pretty Mischievous my favorite against.
Yeah, and by the way, the reason that I think it's going to be her last race of the season is because I think Brendan Walsh wants no part of the older fillies and mares in a Breeders' Cup distaff. And cutting back to 7 furlongs in a filly and mare sprint, the prospect of running against maybe an Echo Zulu, depending on where she goes, if she faces the boys or the fillies and mares, or if not Echo Zulu, still having to run against Goodnight Olive. I don't think any of those are winning scenarios. And I think he thinks this is a winnable race and he'd rather go out on a high note. But again, these 3-year-old fillies, I agree, James. I think that they are not as good as they have been in years past. And that's why I like the Colt in this spot, kind of a new kid on the block approach here as well, Blaise.
Love it. James, I'm 100% with you. Subscribe to your theory on Pretty Mischievous, and I would also choose her as a fade. But since we can't choose the same horses, I'm fading Reincarnate. That's right, the Bob Baffert runner. I am originally from California. Bob Baffert, we trust. Bob Baffert's the GOAT of SoCal racing, but I am definitely going against Reincarnate, the 3-1 morning line favorite in the Pennsylvania Derby. Again, we'll see how that plays out. But in my opinion, this funky morning line, you got Saudi Crown at 7-2 for Brad Cox. I believe that Brad Cox, after the Jim Dandy and what played out there in that race, that Saudi Crown was pointing to this. He was taken off the Traverse Trail. I definitely believe on this big Saturday at Parx, the popular public money of Bob Baffert is going to take a lot of it. He's paired up with JJ Hernandez, and these owners, people are going to see that on paper and hopefully just bet with 2 fists at the window for Reincarnate. Speed normally holds well at Parx, as it did last year at the PA Derby Day, as well as just overall at Parx. You get to the front with speed. I do believe, though, Saudi Crown is going to take down Reincarnate, but I'm fading Reincarnate. And yes, I know Bob Baffert has won this race. You could tell me with Taba, McKenzie, Bairn, and I got another one, West Coast. West Coast. He has a lot of success in this race in Pennsylvania. But Reincarnate, you look back at his last race at Los Alamitos, my home track. Love Los Al to death, but he faced the likes of Skinner and a few other ones that really aren't worth writing home about. So I see I see an upset, not an upset, but I definitely see Saudi Crown can take on the likes of this Bob Baffert beast, as some people might call him, there on the East Coast. All right. Well,
Blaise,
do you have a
backup? Do you have a backup in case, because he's got the wide outside post, and I don't know if they think he can win from the far outside. They might not want to run him at all. Just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Not basing that on anything that's happened before with connections scratching horses from an outside post. So maybe you need a backup.
At least Baffert said he was coming and was going to run. Yeah, that's a good point with Baffert.
Great point, Darin.
I'm just having a little fun with Blaise.
No, I appreciate it because yes, Baffert did. I can't. It was Del Mar. Forgive me for not knowing the race and who. But
Feza. It was Feza.
Thank you.
And the Torrey Pines.
and then the filly that ended up in the far outside post too. You can't possibly win from the outside post.
And then Arabian Night won from post 11 like a couple of races later, and he was like, you can't win from the outside at Del Mar. And then Arabian Night goes wire to wire. So, all three of his wins have come wire to wire. That's my concern. You summed it up. I don't think he makes the lead from the outside, or if he does, he's going to be just, it's going to be a derby scenario where he's going to have to go too fast, too early.
And, everyone has an excuse, and we all know what those are like. But, no excuse. Baffert's got to run this horse in the PA Derby. It's $1 million race. This isn't the Torrey Pines.
He'll run. I'm just having a little fun with you. Little curveball when you're hosting.
I'll go Scotland as the backup because I see Scotland as well taking some money with those connections of Bill Mott, L&J, Foxwoods. Scotland, did a really nice job there at Churchill. Ran also in the Travers. Wasn't too impressive, but Bill Mott. Who do you got? Junior Alvarado. It could be a thing there, but thanks for the curveball, Darin. I like it. I didn't strike out too bad. All right, let's move on to other notables to watch, or again, any type of news. I think Darin, you might have a little Willard Scott update for us, or Al Rokert weather update on this weekend. How about you give us that first?
Yeah, Doppler Darin in full effect here. Look, I just to let everybody know, because out here on the East Coast, we've been watching it. There is a major subtropical storm, as they call it, heading up the East Coast. So just keep in mind for your handicapping on Saturday at Parx, at Saturday at Belmont at Aqueduct, they're looking at a lot of rain. So from a handicapping standpoint, take a look at the horses that maybe excel or have run well on an off track before. Pay attention to any type of a track bias that ends up, coming to hand because of the rain that we see. Pay attention to a track being sealed when it gets opened up and harrowed, if it stops raining. All those things do matter. So just a point on a big day of racing, especially Pennsylvania Derby Day, they're talking about an inch or two of rain, very strong winds, which could wreak havoc with horses on the front, stop closers in their tracks in the stretch. So just pay attention to all that. But either way, pay attention to Gilmore in the Pennsylvania Derby, because that's who's actually going to upset the apple cart, Blaise.
Okay. Duly noted. Gilmore. All right. Not bad. What's that price we're looking at? Morning
10
line.
On the morning line. There's too much speed. There's too much speed in the race. All the major players want to be forward. This is a horse that's stretching out for the first time. It's his third race back off the form cycle. Came in off the turf event last time. And go back and watch his Pat Day Mile and watch him come running there. I think you're going to see a similar effort here.
Well, you get Johnny V for trainer Brendan Walsh with again Connection Starlight Racing SF. I like where you're going, Darin. I will throw it over to you, James. What's worth noting? Who to watch?
Yeah, hopefully, I'm going to mention Gunite entering the Parx Start Mile. When Gunite won the Forgo on the Travers Undercard and Echo Zulu won the Battle Arena, it looked like Gunite was going to go for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And even in the winner's circle at the Ballerina, he mentioned the filly mare sprint for Echo Zulu. But Gunite going the Parx Start Mile would seem to indicate to me that he's going to run in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, and I'd love to see that decision. First and foremost, it wouldn't even be a decision to make if both horses weren't owned by the Winchells and had the same ownership, because at 6 furlongs, I think Echo Zulu beats Gunite every single time. In fact, I think she's the top 6 furlong dirt horse in the world. I believe those Brisnet speed ratings, 112 for the Honorable Miss, the 109 for the Ballerina. And seeing how she didn't make her first start this year till late May, has run 3 times. I think the plan has always been to have her peak in the fall. making her fourth start. And I'm going to be betting on her in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. That's for certain. The reason why I love it is because 3 fillies have won the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Desert Stormer, Safely Kept, Very Subtle. Only one of those are in the Hall of Fame, Safely Kept. In fact, in the modern era, last 50 years, only 2 filly sprinters, Safely Kept and Extra Heat, have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And in order to get a handful of them, you've got to go way back to like 100 years ago and pull up names like Panzeretta and Affectionately and others. So Safely Cup's 9 for 12. She's been a champion 2-year-old. She'll be champion's female sprinter this year. If there's depending on what happens in the distaff and even the classics, she could be in the running for champion older female and for horse of the year. I'm not taking that out of the picture. So I think it's all a legacy moment. She's got everything to gain by going to the Breeders' Cup Sprint, crushing the boys at Santa Anita. And I love to see them sort of signaling that that's what they're going to do by sending Gunite to the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. What do you guys think?
Legacy moment. You heard it here first, TwinSpires players. Anyone watching this, legacy moment is what James is calling this. A nice Panzeretta drop. That RIP Panzeretta buried there in the infield at Fairground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good call out. Don't have anything that riveting. I'm just looking forward to see. I will be playing the race. Might just do this one more in the bottom side of the exotics, or just I'll bet on the nose. For Cherie DeVoe, I'm looking at the Oklahoma Derby on Sunday at Remington Park out there in Oklahoma. Cagliostro gets Christian Torres on the mount, who, if anyone's been following Midwest Racing or Christian Torres just recently, he has been an excellent horseman. He's 8-1 on the morning line in Sunday's Oklahoma Derby. Cagliostro finished second and third in the last few starts, had some competitive races recently. Notably 3 back against Scotland in the allowance event at Churchill, as well as 2 races back, lost by a length and 3/4 in the Indy Derby, and last time out finished second, just 3 lengths in the Smarty Jones at Parx. So this race, I feel, makes a lot of sense. Cherie DeVoe just got her first grade 1 last week at Woodbine. She knows where to place her horses, and look forward to see this horse at least hit the board. Before we call it a day here on the jury, I just want to let everyone know we love harness players. Darin mentioned it earlier. We got a slew of harness promos going on this weekend, so be sure to check those out. As well as, if you're going to be up late, we got some great international racing action going on Friday night from Rose Hill. We'll have Jason Witham's Expert Picks and app. We have a $2,000 live leaderboard contest that keeps track of your progress throughout Friday night for Rose Hill with our partners at Sky Racing. And if you're even up really late at night on Saturday or early Sunday morning on a bender, be sure to opt in for our Hong Kong promo. Bet 500, get 50, bet 100, get 10. Just work your way. We have till September. You can reach that cap and play the great racing at Hong Kong with the commingled pools. You're looking at $2 to $3 million win pools alone. And on that note, I hope to be with you guys Tuesday. We could recap everything on Racing Roundtable. Thanks so much. Remember, don't have a TwinSpires account. There's no better time to open one than now with our great promos. So thank you, Darin. Thank you, James.